Many therapists dream of leaving burnout behind and building a thriving private practice, but few actually do it. Today, I'm joined by Jillian Pendergast. Jillian started her private practice as a side hustle 3 years ago after experiencing burnout in her previous job as a full time school based therapist. What began as a small endeavor has grown into her full time career where she leads a thriving, multi six-figure private practice. With a passion and focusing on branding and marketing, Jillian has mastered the art of building a successful practice and now manages a team of over 15 therapists, all dedicated to providing exceptional client care. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
Yeah, me too. So, does that cover everything, or is there anything else you'd like to add before we talk about the marketing strategies used to build your private practice?
Yeah, no, that all sounds really good.
All right, let's get started. So, what inspired you to start your own private practice, and what has been the most rewarding part of your journey?
So, and similar to what you just mentioned, I started my private practice as a side hustle working full time. I was just feeling so burned out by the paperwork and just everything that encompasses being a school based therapist. And I didn't feel it really aligned with my overall goals and what I would love to see for the children there. And so it was very conflicting because while I loved the students, I didn't love like the job and like all the extras that kind of went with it. And I knew for myself I couldn't stay in this position for the long term. And the one thing I love being about speech therapist and this job is you can do a lot of different things. We're not stuck in a school or we're not stuck in a hospital. Like there's really so many opportunities for us. And so I was like, I'm going to just start a side business. And I'd kind of gotten the itch when I did my Giggly SLP stuff when I was selling t-shirts. And I love being the boss in that aspect. So I was like, okay, now let's shift over and start a practice. So I love the flexibility that it brought, the find more financial freedom, and just being able to serve clients in a way that really aligned with my values and expertise. And kind of just over time, I learned marketing and how important branding is to really get your name out there. And so, yeah, the most kind of rewarding experience about this is not only creating a career that I really loved, but now it's this new aspect of like where I can also help therapists do the same thing. And because I think sometimes we can feel stuck in our job and we can feel like, oh gosh, is this it for me? But it's not. There's so much more that we can do. And I just want to be able to empower other therapists to feel the same way.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned like having some specific moments where you had the itch of you needed to start your own, you like being your own boss. But how did you know that this is what you wanted to do and that this was going to work for you to become your own boss?
I think starting it the way I did by just doing it part-time really helped me get my feet wet. It was like, okay, well, at least I'm not jumping 110% in. So I still was able to rely on that guaranteed income while building something that was mine. And I love that it wasn't perfect in the beginning. Like I didn't even really have a website. I didn't even really have like a logo. I just was like, I'm just going to go do it and see what happens. And the first year was definitely a slow grow because I didn't use any of the strategies that I use now, but it got me my interest peaked. I was like, I really love this. I love being able to chat with the parents more and build a better connection. And I love being able to charge my worth. And like people don't even bat an eye. And that was another thing I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, if I say this private pay rate, are they gonna say no? And when more people kept saying yes, I was like, okay. And I'm doing a really good job. So yeah, it kept snowballing from there. I was like, okay, so now I'm going to work more in my private practice. And I kept taking days off from the school. And so the start of the 24-25 school year is when I did not go back at all. It was when I was 100% in my private practice.
No, wonderful.
Did you see the most growth in the business? Because, like you just mentioned, you went full time last year. That wasn't very long ago. I know you had recently started this.
Yeah. Honestly, my growth came every time I took steps past my fear. Like, no lie. I had, before I went to my principal to tell them that I was quitting, I had to call my therapist because I was like, what if I'm making the biggest mistake by not going back next year because it's guaranteed income? And my therapist had to literally sit me down and be like, let's actually look at numbers and be realistic about what the situation is going to look like. And I followed through. I quit. And no lie, within like 2 months of the end of the school year last year, so in May, my revenue doubled because I was able to focus on my business and just my business and not have to juggle my school based job.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
mhm,
That's wonderful. Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of listeners also feel like they feel confident with their private practice and seeing the clients, but marketing is such a challenge since that's not something that we learn about in
mhm.
school. So, what strategies have been most effective for growing your practice?
Yes, and I was just gonna say that it's hard because we aren't taught how to be business people. Like when we go to school, it's therapist minded. And so there is like a whole different learning curve when we take on this business aspect. And one of the biggest things is getting over that fear of rejection, fear of making mistakes, and fear of vulnerability, because those things can really hold you back. And so it's being able to shift your mindset and really look at things in more of a realistic standpoint because I think your body is saying all these fears because it wants to protect you, but it's almost doing the opposite. So I always say, like, if you're being fearful, it's good to acknowledge that, but then say, okay, but this is what could actually happen from it. So it may be really scary to talk to 10 different daycares, but like, what if you get 10 new clients because of it? So trying to flip it in terms of saying like a fearful way and flip it to a positive thing is one of my bigger things. And then also focusing on what you really want in terms of your client base. And I'm not saying everyone has to have like a specific niche, but I definitely think honing it down to clients that you want and that align with your values and your expertise. Because when I first started, I was like taking on everyone. It was so broad. It was like birth to 16 and like everyone in between. And one of my first clients was a child who stuttered, and fluency is on like the bottom of the list in terms of like who I feel like competent to treat. But I took it because I felt like I had to because and to grow. And now I like totally I regretted going to every session. And I'm like, this is what I'm trying to get away from. I'm trying to get away from the schools where I have to take every client. I am my own boss. I don't have to take everyone. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to be the optimal client for me. And so I think that's also one of the biggest things in terms of marketing. You want to market and have messaging that is going to attract clients that align most with your values and your expertise.
Well, so how did you first start doing that? Like, what was maybe one of the first things you did to niche down or decide who you really wanted to work with?
I love working with the ASD population. So I definitely talked a lot about that in terms of even when I marketed myself in the community, I was always talking about I love autistic kids and I just love that aspect, but also like the early language learners. So that's why I love going to daycares and pediatricians and just focusing on people that would put me in a network with those clients. So I'm not going to like older social groups or things like that, because then they're going to bring me clients that aren't going to align. So whoever you're marketing to, whether that's going to be in person, align yourself with professionals that are going to bring you those clients. And then even with your messaging on your website and your social media platforms, being like very specific on who your messaging is to. So if you love late talkers, then your messaging is going to be maybe a lot about strategies for helping parents with late talkers or whatever it is. So very clear messaging to attract that client.
Thank you so much for those tips. What are some of the ways that you've reached out? I know you said daycares, pediatricians. Are you sending emails? Are you cold calling? What has been your strategies?
Yeah, I've done the emailing and I feel like it hasn't ever been my most successful strategy. So it's getting in person. So anytime I go to daycares, I'm not met like emailing or calling. I'm just showing up in person with all my marketing stuff basically. And I asked to speak to the director. And even with the pediatrician, I'm going to their office or I'm going to chiropractors' offices. I'm getting in their face because I feel like that's also most memorable and it shows like I'm here. I'm not just someone who's like afraid to show up and like hide behind a computer. Like I am confident in my service, I'm confident in my expertise, and I want to show you that by being in person. So my most effective way has always been showing up at like networking events, being a part of chambers. That way I can like really get in the community and get face to face with people.
I have a follow-up question to that because it wasn't something I was expecting. Are you picking like ideal times to go and do this? Are you setting up meetings prior to walking in? How are you doing this?
It's kind of a mix of both. So for daycares, I just go in kind of whenever. In terms of some of the chiropractors that I've networked with, I actually Instagram message them because a lot of them are on their Instagram so much. So I just said, "Hey, like I'm a pediatric speech therapist," and I always frame it to like this is how I can also benefit you because sometimes if you come across like, "Oh, you can benefit me by," it kind of comes off like a little selfish. So I always try to
Mhm.
make sure I'm saying like, this is how I can benefit you. And this could be a mutual relationship. And then I've set up like lunches with them for networking events. Anytime there's a networking event, I'll just show up. That's scheduled.
I feel like that's so smart to meet with them in person because with the age of like digital media and digital marketing, people really want that authentic aspect and to
Mhm.
actually meet and greet people. So if they have like a face to the name and they can just talk to you as opposed to going through like Google searches or searching through Instagram or whatever, maybe they're not even aware that, your services is what they need or you're the perfect person for them. Like having that connection is so much more real and will take you further. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. And I think a lot of times, like when you refer, I mean, even when you personally refer to people for other providers, like you kind of want to know them, right? You don't want to refer to a speech therapist if you actually don't know them, you don't know the personality, because you also don't want to be known to refer to like bad people. So I feel like that's also a huge part. And even when I met with the chiropractors, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I just love your personality and you're so fun." And, it's also giving what your brand is. Like you're your brand, and so when you show up as your authentic self, people are going to want to refer to you because they feel like they know you now versus, yeah, if you're just behind a computer. And I think everyone can do that, right? Everyone can write an email because it's not scary, but not everyone is going to put themselves out there because it's not fun and it's intimidating. And there is a fear of that rejection, but it makes you stand out way more.
Right. So if someone was starting from scratch and listening to this, how would you recommend for them to get that or get the courage to walk into that first daycare?
It took a lot of practice and it's not something that's easy. It's still something like I'm definitely better at, but I wouldn't even say like I'm like the best. But I would say have an elevator pitch ready. So an elevator pitch is just a very short synopsis of like who you are and what services that you provide. You say like that you could say in an elevator ride and just practice. Like literally on my way to networking events, I will rehearse my elevator pitch so many times because another part of it is like coming off confident and like you are the expertise in your field. And so if you don't feel confident in yourself or the services, it's going to come across that way. So practicing in the mirror, whatever it is to show like, this is who you are. And yes, you provide exceptional services. And I have a gift to my community and I want other people to know that, then it's going to shine through and people are going to want to refer to you.
No, that makes sense. So what common mistakes do you therapists make when it comes to marketing their private practice and how do you think they can avoid them?
I think one of the biggest things I see is people often say like word of mouth, which I think is great. It obviously means that you are providing like a very high level service, but you can't control that. You can't control if a parent is going to refer to you because they could absolutely love you, but maybe they don't want to talk to their friends and family about their child being in therapy. So while it is like considered a strategy, it's not something that I would want people to rely on because again, you can't control it. And so for me, all of my true strategies that I use are things that it's a strategy that I've put in place to get those reoccurring. And that's the thing. You always want a system in place for reoccurring inquiries. Especially for me because I don't take insurance. I have to really rely on being like very strategic in terms of my marketing strategy. I can't rely on like a lot of pediatricians referring to me because I don't take insurance. So just actually truly having a strategy behind marketing. Like there's frameworks there. Marketing is not just like throwing something to a wall and hoping it sticks. Like it's very, you have to be very mindful in terms of how you're setting all of those up. And I think also a lot of people get stuck on it being perfect. And that's why they love the idea of private practice and having one, but they feel like I have to do all of these things that it has to be like the right time. There's never going to be a right time. Like that's just how it is, even with everything. Even when I started my course for marketing, I was like, I've got to do this and this. And I was like, I can't, no, like I'm literally telling other people it doesn't have to be perfect. And so I have to like remind myself that too. So, not getting stuck on the little things. Well, there's so many different marketing strategies that I teach in my course. I always say, you don't have to do all of this at once. Just focus on a couple things and you can build. But yes, I think if you don't have a marketing strategy, that's when you can get stuck on not getting those reoccurring clients.
That makes sense. So many listeners are probably like thinking of different mistakes that they could be making right now, like that, like thinking about perfectionism or how to start. So, what's the first fix that they should make?
I would say, like, if you're like, is there a specific fix you're thinking or
Even though like a mindset shift.
yeah, I think mindset is like huge. I really think we are so ingrained in being a therapist and everything we've learned. And then when we switch over to that business mindset, one of the biggest mindset shifts that I think has to happen in this community is the mindset of business. And when you're when you're paying for courses, it's not just money being thrown out. Like you're investing because you want to be bigger. And I think like something that's I had to also understand and learn, like when I invest thousands in a coach, I'm not doing it because I'm scared of losing all that money. I'm actually my mindset is I'm using all of this money to invest in a coach because it's going to make me double what I'm making. And so I think for anyone starting, like you don't even have to learn all of it yourself. There's so many tools and resources and coaches out there now that can help you skip the line, basically, because there wasn't really any, like, marketing strategies when I first started, and it literally took me a year and a half to even understand what marketing was and branding. Like, I didn't make a lot of money my first year because I didn't understand it. And then once I really dove deep and learned all of it, my first year, like, grew exponentially, and then the 3rd year, it was like it tripled. So when you're starting, don't feel like you have to do it all alone. Yes, it's scary to invest a couple $100, but think of it as in I'm saving time. I'm actually going to be making more money because I'm going to know all the strategies that I wouldn't have known before, you know? So you have to change your mindset in terms of that, especially when it comes to investing in courses and coaching and mentorship.
Jill, I'm loving everything that you're saying. And I feel like I feel this to my core right now because I feel like we're pretty good at marketing. I've been doing this for 10 years, but when it comes to my private practice, I'm really struggling. And honestly, the only referrals come from word of mouth. So I know I'm missing so many opportunities to grow the practice even more. And I just want to know what makes your course different than other courses that are out there. It sounds like what you're saying is it's not just about like, starting the private practice, but it's also about like marketing the private practice too effectively. So,
Yeah.
could you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, definitely. My course is 6 hours long because each one is about and my each module is an hour long, and we really break it down from the beginning. My course is really for people who kind of already have, like, the LLC set up, so it's really trying
Okay.
to get your first client or multiple clients because, again, the goal is to have that reoccurring inquiry coming in through systems. So we really start at the basics in terms of, like, branding and brand identity, but a lot of people skip that part in its entirety because it's not the fun part. It's not really like the fun part that gets you the client, but it really impacts your messaging, your even in the future if you want to hire, like what is your brand tone? What are your values, your mission? Because if you have that with 110%, like what your mission and your values are, then it's going to start reflecting in your messaging. So when we get to the social media part, you already have what your messaging is. We just got to put it now into funnels and social media posts. And then we really dive deep into email and building. Cause I'll be like, why do you need an email? And even I was like, why would I need an email? But it really, really helps build that credibility because you really want to build trust in the community. People don't know you. So, sure, word of mouth is great for someone to say this person's amazing, but that person's going to want to do their own research and see like this person knows what they're talking about. I trust this person without even having to be on the phone with them. Like they seem very knowledgeable. And so adding these different strategies helps that person then want to reach out to you, get on the phone, book an eval. So there are so many different aspects to it versus just having a logo or things like that.
Awesome. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to tell us about your program or your course? Because it sounds wonderful. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I love it. Like I didn't realize how much I was gonna, like, love teaching other therapists because it's not something that is ingrained in us in terms of, like, the business. So I just love showing people, like, this is what you can do to get to be successful, and I think for me, a lot of it is I love sharing to people, like, I'm private pay and I don't take insurance and I can still be successful because I think that it can be really disheartening when you have all this set up and you maybe get one client a month and it's like, man, like maybe I should just take insurance just to bill. But a lot of times, if you're not marketing, then clients can't find you. And if clients can't find you, they're not going to book you because it's not that they don't want to, they just haven't seen you yet. So it's learning all about that. And we really go into the marketing framework that I use. Trying to think what else. There's like so many topics that we cover. And I'm really excited because Sarah from Social Moguls is the one who does the social media module. And so she's
Oh,
just like a wealth of information. So I love having her there. And right now I'm releasing one I'm having a live course. So, and I love the live aspect because it's not just like teaching the module where you're learning. You get access to me. Like the one thing I really think I am good at is branding and marketing. And so people can ask me questions, I can give them feedback, and I love the back and forth of it as well, which I thought would be very scary and intimidating, but it's something that I found like a lot of joy in.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. If someone wants to dive deeper into your marketing strategies, your course, where should they go?
Yeah, they can go to my Instagram. I do have like a marketing freebie where I share my top marketing things to bring with you when you go to daycares. I am developing more courses and I'm actually going to be coming out with a monthly membership for that extra support because I feel like there's so many times that I take a course, but I need like more support in some areas. So having a low cost monthly membership where we're gonna get, access to exclusive groups and monthly chats and everything like that is gonna be really good for people to continue that growth. Because again, someone should always have a mentor because you always wanna strive to be bigger and better, and that mentor can, like, push you to do that. But yeah, I my biggest thing that I tell everyone is just don't feel stuck in their job. Like, if you are dreading waking up in the morning or really dislike your job, like you don't have to stay there. You have a choice to change it. And for me, private practice has changed so much and I'm like so grateful for it. And so I just always love to remind people that like you are not stuck where you are. You have an opportunity to do more if that's what you want.
That's so nice. I feel like everyone's gonna really love those words of encouragement. Thank you so much. So, as Jill's told us today, your private practice success is possible. You just need the right strategy. So, we hope that you learned something today and are able to connect with her more. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jill.